How Democrats use climate change to control you. Who controls the food supply can control the people. Who controls energy can control continents. Who controls money can control the world. This quote is attributed to Henry Kissinger, although Reuters reports that there is no evidence that he ever said or wrote the saying. Regardless of who said or fabricated the quote, it's true. Democrats are systematically trying to weaken America by giving authority to international radicals in all three areas. Climate change radicals are trying to control who and how much food American farmers can produce by controlling the loans farmers need. They are trying to control utility consumption by eliminating the choice for gas stoves, and the UN now controls 40% of international banking through climate change initiatives, the Paris Agreement, and the Net Zero Banking Alliance. Last week, Florida Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson recognized two international banks that removed themselves from the United Nations Net Zero Banking Alliance. What is the Net Zero Banking Alliance? From the United Nations website, an alliance of banks representing 40% of global banking assets committed to net zero by 2050. Sounds like a worthy goal, right? Wrong. From the UN website, banks shall set and publicly disclose long-term and intermediate targets to support meeting the temperature goals of the Paris Agreement. It is a web too tangled to untie in one blog. Agriculture is not specifically mentioned in the Paris Agreement, but mission creep has put American agriculture in the crosshairs of climate change radicals. The U.S. withdrew from the Paris Agreement in 2020 only to rejoin it by executive order, not U.S. Senate ratification under the Biden administration in 2021. What's wrong with net zero balance banking? American farmers cannot get loans unless they meet strict climate change initiatives, which include infrastructure, technology, and equipment. Simpson is quoted in the Takeaways from Tallahassee newsletter, "We will not stand idly by and allow unelected individuals and woke institutions to make unchecked decisions that would intentionally cripple American agriculture and threaten our food security and national security." If an international bank can control what type of equipment a farmer uses, what is going to keep them from dictating what type of crops they grow or to whom they sell? Outside of the crisis at the southern border, Biden's climate change initiatives may be the second greatest threat to American sovereignty. Remember the gas stove debate? Gas stoves barely contribute to the so-called greenhouse effect, but that didn't stop Democrats' attempt to ban them. Why? Democrats' next step is to regulate all utility consumption on behalf of climate change. People in the northern United States already want to reduce air conditioning use in the South, but do not want their heat, which is much more harmful to the environment, regulated at all. The Biden administration has already issued regulation on air conditioners, refrigerators, shower heads, etc. The weird thing about climate change radicals is that they want to inflict what they are willing to do for climate change on the entire population, but are unwilling to give up other efforts which they utilize. A couple of examples include a story about personal friends who are recycling Nazis. I literally quit going to their house for fear that I would throw away an aluminum can in the garbage. When I asked why they didn't buy reusable growlers for beer, I was told it was too inconvenient. I then asked if they used their clothes dryer after work on a weekday. Of course, they answered. They refused to believe that they were doing more harm to the environment by utilizing their clothes dryer during peak electric usage than they would ever help the environment by recycling. I won't delve into the hypocrisy that they use a clothes dryer. An international example includes a poll of people who live in France who are under the age of 40. When asked if people should be able to fly on planes, more than 60% answered that people should only be able to use air travel twice in their lives. You read that correctly. Of course, they believe that people should be able to take as many train trips as they want for international travel because that's what's widely available to them. More hypocrisy from radicals. The problem becomes that under the Paris Agreement, every country must file an addendum about how they are meeting these international goals every 5 years. So, look for the gas stove debate to reoccur under Biden's second term if he wins. Biden is systematically weakening American by giving international interests authority over our food, energy, and banking. If you control those three, You can control the world, and Biden is advocating all of them to international unelected radicals.